Okay, welcome back to another Warhammer the Old World Battle Report. Haven't gotten to get a real life game in a while, but I did manage to sneak one in on Warhall with another player who's actually going to be at the Square Base Toronto tournament, which I'm hopefully planning to go to uh, next weekend. Yeah. So I'll just run through my list. It's a slightly refined version of sort of my pretty normal 2,000 point high elf list at this point. I have an Archmage on foot with Battle Magic and a Silvery Wand, so an extra spell. A Noble on a Griffin with a Battle Standard Bearer, but as the Battle Standard Bearer, and he's got the Armor of Calidor, so a 5-up ward. And then a Prince on Star Dragon. I've kitted him out for defense. I've sort of gone back and forth on what's the best loadout, but I've got a Dragon Helm, so +1 save, so he's on a 2-up armor, a Seed of Rebirth, so it's 5-up regen, Talisman of Protection for a 5-up ward, and then two 2+ ward single uses, and those are for the proliferation of Heroic Killing Blow Bretonians, so the ones that with Monster Slayer. Also good against things like cannons that are doing multiple wounds if they, yeah. Uh, 2 little units of 5 archers, a bigger unit of 9 silver helms with the war banner, a small unit of 5 silver helms, 2 Lothran Skycutters, and then 12 Sisters of Avalorn, and the High Sister in that unit has the Ruby Ring of Ruin, and then another unit of 6 Sisters. So, yeah, sort of the idea being I got a fair number of effective bow shots, so I can hang back at range and force the opponent to come into the charge range of my Dragon, Griffin, Cavalry, and Chariots, who are all very mobile and can sort of move to get flank charges, or set up multi charges. And then Schmuck, my opponent, is running sort of the chaos build you might expect to see at a tournament. So a Chaos Lord with the Ogre Blade and the Brazen Collar for -2 magic res, the Mark of Nurgle and Enchanting Aura, so pretty normal. A Sorcerer Lord with the Infernal Puppet. He does have Armored Meteoric Iron, and he's on a Demonic Mount, so the armor, that's sort of helpful against cannons, I guess, and Pillars of Fire, as he'll always keep his 5-up armor save. And Demonic Mount, I think, gives him +1 wound. And Mark of Zinch, of course. A unit of 10 Forsaken, a unit of 7 Forsaken, 10 Marauder Horsemen with Mark of Zinch. The Sorcerer Lord can go in there and get +1 to his cast. 6 Chosen Chaos Knights, undivided, so the Sorcerer Lord could also go in there if he wanted to. They have Drilled, and then a unit of 4 Dragon Ogres, and no champion in there, I don't think. Maybe they do. Anyways, it's a big unit for only 250 points. That's such a steal. Okay, deployment. We have a unit of Sisters up on the hill, a unit of Archers, big unit. Yep. My big Silver Helms, my Princes in the Woods, Skycutter, Silver Helms in front of my big unit of Sisters, and my Mages in there. Another unit of Archers, my Noble, my Skycutter. Basically, there'll be some shots coming this way, and then I'm hoping that these units can come around here and get flank charges. And the Dragon Prince and the Silver Helms can sort of do a frontal charge into if he throws the Chaos Lord or the Chosen Knights forward, and they'll act as a whatever it would be, a wall to protect my shooting units. He's got big unit of Dragon Ogres with his Lord beside it, Chosen and Marching Column. For some Forsaken in the Woods, some standing out screening his Marauders, and he put his Sorcerer Lord inside that unit. My turn 1, sort of shift to get things into range. The Skycutter flies over here. Push some things forward. I stayed out of all his charge arcs and basically put shots into the Chaos Knights and the Forsaken. Oh, I did. Yeah, so I killed a chosen knight, which I mean that's pretty good value because those are expensive models. And I killed a couple Forsaken, I think. He responded. He weighed up. He initially thought about putting his dragon basically right in front of mine and forcing a charge. I think that would have been a mistake potentially because it would have, if he didn't force me to fall back in good order, there's a good chance, I don't know if it would have happened with the give ground, that I would have had a flank charge with these knights into his flank, and that would have been a lot of on the turn after, which would have been a lot of static combat res. And I think there's a good chance that I can, with my extra saves, that I can sort of blank out his combat res, or the damage he causes, at least in one round with my 2 opal amulets. And that would have, yeah. And I think potentially, maybe even the sky. I was looking at the sky cutter was maybe even get into a rear charge depending on what happened. So instead, I think he recognized that was an issue, and he put it right up into the face of my silver helms. He's out of the arc of my dragon, so I can't see him. He backed up the knights a little bit. He's did I say? Did I move my sky cutter up that far? Yeah, so I'd moved my sky cutter up a long ways. He put out a pillar of fire, and yeah, basically he was just trying to make sure I can't see, sky cutter can't see this unit over the hill now, and if it charges into this unit Forsaken, it'll end up, I think, landing on the pillar, or at least very much getting hit by the pillar the next turn. So yeah, we were just sort of jockeying a bit, except for committing the dragon in here. What happens on my turn is I go for the charge with the knights and the sky cutter. Oh, we'll rewind. So this is, I really wanted, and he graciously said, "Oh yeah, no worries." They needed to be one guy in the back, because what I'm thinking there is I challenge, the high helm dies, and then I still have an extra rank bonus because they're heavy cavalry. I mean, it's not a big deal, it's just one combat resolution. Anyways, that's what happens. I decide to go for the charge. The silver helms in the front, sky cutter into the flank. I put some shots into the dragon ogres. I fly. What did I do? My dragon declared a long charge. He was in range. I think it was like 17 inches to get to the Forsaken, and I was just an inch out. Just couldn't make it. So he just trundled forward a bit. What happens here is, in the challenge, my high helm dies, but not by a crazy amount, and my units just give ground because the dragon's there with its leadership 10. And so he restrains and pivots to look at my dragon's flank. Thinking back, I think if he had have positioned to see this, my mage and sisters unit, that would have potentially been scarier, because it takes my dragon, I guess, is getting some charges up here in that instance. Anyways, yeah, my turn. The silver helms and the griffin charge the Forsaken, kill a bunch of them. Because of how they fall back, I can't pursue with both units. The griffin pursues, and then that blocks out the silver helm, so they just reform. And the sky cutter just flies around the pillar onto the hill where it can see multiple things, and it shoots some bow shots and maybe kills a marauder horseman. Firing into the dragon ogres, I did a couple wounds. It's not the best army for my strength 3 shooting. His turn. Oops. His turn 2, so his dragon goes into the side of my dragon. It does very poor. He just rolls poorly, and I used an opal amulet on one of his. I think he like didn't do any wounds with the ogre blade, and then one of the dragon wounds went through, and I used an opal amulet on it just to try and uh, win some combat, or at least win. And so I do. Uh, end up causing 2 wounds, which lets me. He gets +1 for the flank charge, but because he did 0 wounds and I did 2, I get to make him give ground and follow up and pivot to face. He pushes the dragon ogres forward, and the drilled knights do a big march up here. The griffin finishes off the Forsaken and pivots, and these he just reforms the Marauder Horseman. He couldn't, because it was a big unit, he couldn't really get them out of danger here, so the Sorcerer Lord just leaves the unit, hides behind the Forsaken, where he's in a pretty safe spot. Out of the way there. My turn 3. The Skycutter declares a charge on the Marauder Horsemen, who do 2 wounds on the stand and shoot. Then the chariot kills a bunch of them, but the 3 that are left do 2 more wounds to the chariot and kill it. So, yeah, what can you do? And then the Marauder Horsemen overrun. The Griffin declared a charge on the Chosen Knights, because he was in their rear, and they choose to flee. So then he redirects into the Forsaken, kills some, forces them to fall back. I would have hit the Sorcerer Lord, but he uses his evade, gets to move his move out of the way, and then the Griffin follows up into the Forsaken. I think basically all the combats the Griffin has fought in with Forsaken, they've rolled the Killing Blow ability, which does nothing for him, so that's been lucky. The Silverhelms just turn and move, trying to block in the Chosen Knights. I don't even know what I shoot at. Oh, and then I put some shots into the knights that have fled now and wear them down a bit. And then this big combat here. So the Griffins, the dragons fighting his dragon. I charge my knights in the flank and the Skycutter in the rear to stack up some combat res. I do 1 wound from the dragon. He does no wounds back to me. Again, his Chaos Lord was getting like 1 or 2 hits, and then the dragon wasn't doing that much better. Every time, all his favor of the gods rolls have been the toughness one. So he's been toughness 7, so I can't really hurt him. But he hasn't had any buffs hurting me. So he rolls under his modified leadership and just gives ground. So we pushed him over this way the little bit that he could, which is weird. So now the knights are no longer in the fight. Not sure if that's how you should do that, but it sort of makes sense. So what happens here? We'll do the big fight first. The Chosen Knights rally, not a surprise. The Dragon Ogres make a disrupted charge into the Skycutter, do 2 wounds to it. The dragons are now fighting. He does 4 wounds to me, and I do 1 to him, and I'm forced to. So we've lost this combat by quite a bit. The Skycutter falls back in good order, and because his dragons in the way, the Dragon Ogres can't really do anything. My dragon initially rolls like an 11 and would have broke, but because I'm just in range of the 18 inches on the Battle Standing Bear, I get to reroll, and then I just give ground. So, yeah, definitely worth having the Battle Standing Bear there in this instance. And so this fight continues. And Sorcerer Lord has just sort of moved up, cast a Pillar of Fire to stop getting charged by these knights. Problematic, and once again the Forsaken lose another fight. They fall back in good order or flee, but I restrain with the Griffin, where I can see his Sorcerer Lord. And the rest of his Marauder Horsemen run up behind here. So, into my turn, the Griffin declared charge on the Sorcerer Lord. It chose to flee, and he ended up bouncing through the units. He ended up over here. And then the shooting and 2 fireballs and the shooting from the sisters killed the Sorcerer Lord. So that worked out well. And then because he's fled, the Griffin chose to redirect his charge into the Forsaken, which he's gonna, we maybe didn't even roll that, but they're gonna be in trouble. The Sky Cutter charged the rear of the Chosen Knights, and the Silver Helms charged the front. And because I'm so close, he doesn't get a chance to countercharge. And then the Silver Helms go into the flank of the dragon, and he again fails to wound my dragon. Very poor rolling from his Dragon Lord, and I think I did a wound or 2, but with the combat res, I double outnumber him. He rolls over his modified leadership and breaks, and then my dragon catches him and runs him down. So we called the game there. The Dragon Ogres are going to mess up this unit of Silver Helms, but by that point, my dragon's going to have turned around. And, yeah, they're pretty happy going. My dragon's happy. Fighting Dragon Ogres, they'll hurt him, but he has a good shot there. And, yeah, we didn't roll for the other things. We called the game there. Yeah, it was a very, enjoyable game. Interesting seeing the 2, it just shows that it's still a dice game. Even with 2 tooled up dragons, like his dragon should be putting out wounds pretty reliably against mine. And the fact that he didn't roll any of the offensive oriented Gaze of the Gods, like he didn't get an extra attack or a higher weapon skill or extra strength. So yeah, but the toughness boost I think was pretty useful. So I was wounding him on 4s or 5s with my Prince and Dragon. But yeah, I was happy with how my list performed. I gotta keep in mind just how mobile the dragons are, because sometimes they are super mobile, but then if someone just goes past you and you're left without a charge arc, you don't have a lot to do. So yeah, I guess we'll call it there since it doesn't want me to show you anymore. Anyways, thanks for watching, and